Hi, everyone. I want to welcome you to the CUSO International webinar all about the 2018 Peru Trek. Today, I am going to share my screen with you, and we will go through all of the details around the trek itself, how it will go, and what you can look forward to. And we'll also hear from Mark Berlin from Charity Challenge. They are sort of the tour provider that we're working with on this event. So we'll also hear some really great detailed information from him about the trek, and we'll also be able to really answer any questions that you may have about the trek and that sort of thing. So like I said, I'm sharing my screen with you. You see what I see, and I have everybody muted at the moment. That's just because for background noise, it's better to have it muted. If you do want to ask a question, please type in that questions box. I'm happy to hear your questions, and we'll field those as we go along. So definitely voice your questions there, and we'll address those, and Mark and I can provide you with answers to those questions. We have 6 people on the webinar so far. I do expect there will be some more joining, so we'll welcome them when they come. Next steps after this presentation, I will send around a follow-up email. Any of the things we talk about here, any of the questions that need further follow-up, I'm going to email folks and let them know the answers and provide resources. I'll also share the recording of the webinar as well. So I do have a poll to kick things off. That's what I'll do now is I will launch into this poll. We'll get to know each other a little bit better. I'll launch that poll, and the poll question is, have you ever been to Peru before? So you can just click on one of the buttons that is your answer. No, you've never been, or yes, and you're looking forward to going back. I'll just give it a few minutes for everyone to vote. Okay, it seems like most people have gotten their votes in. I'm going to close the webinar now. And we'll look at the results. Let's share these results. Okay, so 75 have never been, 25 are looking forward to going back. So that's really great. I have not been to Peru before. I know Mark certainly has been there and has had a great experience. So that's great. It's good to know, that most of the people actually haven't been before. So thank you for participating in that poll. I think that's great. Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit about myself. My name's Amy Gibson. I'm the fundraising officer here at CUSO International. And as you probably know, this activity that we're embarking on, this Peru challenge, is a fundraising activity for our organization, in addition to an awareness raising activity as well. So when it comes to fundraising and when it comes to this trek, I'm here to help. I know Mark is more than welcome to receive your questions as well. I'm here to help you with your fundraising. I'm here to design a campaign that plays to your strengths, and to help you along with your fundraising. I know that can sometimes be a challenge for people, but I'm here to tell you that you can absolutely do it. And people that don't even have any fundraising experience have been very successful with fundraising. So if you have any questions or anything along the way, please feel free to send those my way. I've been fundraising for well over a decade, and I've been with CUSO International for almost 2 years now. I really love my job. I work with volunteers. Our volunteers go overseas on their placements, they're also required to fundraise for us, and I help all of our volunteers achieve their goal. So we've had a lot of success with their fundraising in the past. And on the CUSO side, I am the one sort of coordinating and recruiting for this trek. Okay, that's a little bit about me. And so now I just want to touch on a few points regarding the trek. So we did a trek before. So back in 2015, we did go on a trek to Peru, and everyone completed that trek. It was filled with a wide range of ages, participants that were of all ages. And I hope you watched the video. I actually sent around a video, and in that, it shows our Peru trek in 2015, and it really gives you a sense of what it's like. I think it's a good video to give you a sense of it. So if you haven't seen that, I encourage you to have a look at that. There's also a good video on the Charity Challenge website as well. So I encourage you to look at that also. And in the past, we did great with our fundraising too. We raised well over $30,000 for CUSO International. And as I mentioned, this is a fundraising activity for us, but it's also awareness raising. So we're spreading the word about who we are and what we do so that we can continue our work around the world. We're working with Charity Challenge to really leverage this as a fundraising initiative for our organization. And I'm here to provide you with a wealth of tools, including a personal online fundraising page. It means that you can personalize your message, you can tell people why you're motivated to do this trek, you can share a photo and send emails to solicit your network to fulfill your fundraising commitment. And I'll be coaching you along the way. I'm going to hold another webinar specifically about fundraising. So I'm sure that will help a lot of people to guide them through that. And also for those people who simply want to pay the fee, you can also do that. I have had some people ask me about paying that fundraising component, and that is something that is acceptable, and you will get a tax receipt for that. A few participants in the past have said that the fundraising part was the easy part and the trekking part was the hard part. So I hope that you don't find this fundraising activity daunting. I think everyone's going to be really successful with it. So, and like I said, I'm here to help. And where do the funds go? They really go back into our organization so that we can continue to send qualified volunteers who have skills that they can share with our partner organizations around the world. They're out there building capacity of our partner orgs and in a wide range of areas. So from economic development to health and wellness to empowering women and youth. Really, our volunteers are at the core of what we do, and really is our development model, is to share those expertise that our volunteers have with our partner organizations. And really the fundraising that happens as a result of this trek allows us to continue to send volunteers and for us to deliver the development programming that we do around the world. We'll also visit a project while we're on the trek as well. So our trekkers will get to see firsthand a project in Peru. So I'm looking forward to that as well. I know a lot of people are interested to actually see that face to face. So we will have that opportunity to have a visit to one of our projects. So I hope that you consider joining us on this trek. I'm sure that you're going to have a transformative experience. I know people in the past have really said that it was a very memorable and special experience that they had. I know that you're not only challenging yourself, but you're also, you're taking yourself maybe out of your comfort zone a little bit, and that you want to support an organization that you believe in, like CUSO International. So I commend you on that, and I look forward to any of the questions or anything that you have about that trek. I'll also mention that we do have an offer right now where if you register before the end of the day on May 21st, you'll be entered to win a draw for a really great prize. So if you are interested, you can book your trip and get entered in for a great draw. I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that for you. Just going to check on the questions. I don't see any right at the moment. But like I said, if you ever have any as we go along, please feel free to ask those. Um, Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce Mark Berlin. He's with Charity Challenge. He has been on the trek, like I mentioned. He has lots of great information about the trek. He'll share with you the details of the itinerary and accommodation and food and drink and um, training and the cost and that kind of thing. So let me just now throw this over to Mark. Give me one moment to do that.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
Okay, great. So we just have the white screen right now. There we go. Okay, we can see your screen now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm just going to move this display box over. Okay, well, great. Thanks, everyone, for joining today. And I'm going to try to give you as much information as I can in this time period. But like has already been mentioned, any questions whatsoever, I mean, especially during the call, is so important that if you can ask them, everyone gets to benefit from the question and answers. But as well, you're more than welcome to email me personally if you like after the call. If you have a question of more of a personal nature and you don't want to discuss it openly, that's completely not a problem, and you're more than welcome to email me. I think Amy will likely share my email address out with everyone, but just in case, I'll give it to you quickly now. It's just Mark, M-A-R-C, at charitychallenge.ca. So pretty easy one to remember. And please don't feel embarrassed if you have an awkward question, or just don't hesitate to ask. So I'll jump right into this. So as Amy mentioned, I've done the challenge a couple of times. Just absolutely loved the event, loved the people, the place, the vibe, the energy. It's just all amazing. One of my favorite challenges for sure. And this particular challenge also, as mentioned, you're lucky because you get an extra day there. You're doing a project visit on day 3. So with that being said, let me launch into a couple of bits of information, and then I'll get into the itinerary day to day. So just a little bit about Charity Challenge. We were founded in '99, and Charity Challenge was started actually by my brother Simon in the UK. And we've been going strong since then. We launched into Canada in 2011, and have been running expeditions out of Canada since then as well. We do obviously specialize in overseas fundraising expeditions. We do have some in the U.S. and Canada, but they very, very seldomly run. People just want to go and explore and see and go to exotic places and things like that. So we are TICO bonded. That's the Travel Industry Council of Ontario, which is protection for any of the people doing our events. We're licensed and insured as well. And we run more international fundraising challenges than any other company. So there are obviously much larger companies that do events like ours, but we're the largest because in terms of charity, because our events are only for charity. We do nothing for the general public, just in the charity sector. As you can also see, we're members of Climate Care, Rainforest Alliance, the IPPG, which is it's like a border protection group. We make sure they're properly paid, fed, clothed, all that kind of stuff too. So that's a big thing for us. We run over 120 challenges per year, over 30 countries across 6 continents. And that photo is actually on the train to, I believe that was we have an extension after the challenge you can do to Lake Titicaca, and it's the same train. This was actually taken on the way to the Inca Trail, the second last day when you get to Machu Picchu. That was on the way to there. So that's the train you'll be on. It stops and you get off and start your trek. I'll get into that a bit more. So it's a 9-day challenge, 5 days of trekking. You get right around 15,000 feet. Of course, you'll be visiting Cusco, Machu Picchu, the Cusco project visit, and so on. So I'm going to spend most of the time actually staring at this map here, because as I explain the day-to-day, I'll kind of show you where you'll be and what you'll be doing. So to start off with, the challenge cost does not include your flight. So if you want help booking your flight, we're more than happy to do that. We work with Flight Center quite closely, and they're more than happy to help. They know our itineraries very well. We do ask that if anyone wants to book a flight, they just send us the itinerary before they book and pay, so we can make sure that it does, in fact, meet the requirements of the start and finish. And that's something that we ask everybody to do. So you do need to be in Cusco on day one. Whether you want to get there early and spend a couple days exploring is totally up to you. We do sometimes suggest that if you have the availability to come in a day earlier, it can only help you acclimatize. As you arrive into Cusco, that is actually the highest point of your challenge, and you feel it right away. You can tell that you're at altitude. You're breathing a bit faster. Your heart rate's a bit faster. But because you guys have a project visit thrown in there, it's not really that necessary. I mean, it obviously will still help, but you do get the extra day at the beginning before you start trekking. So that's definitely a benefit. So you arrive on day one. We ask everyone to get there, preferably before midday. And most flights coming from Lima will get there earlier in the morning anyway. So you will get to the hotel. The rest of the group starts to arrive in the morning. You have a briefing. You get to meet the doctor. So there's a doctor that joins you on the trip, and you get to meet the doctor and address any medical concerns. Of course, if you have anything of a private nature, you can ask them confidentially as well. You go for lunch, and then you do a walking tour of the city. It's a very slow walking tour. At first, you might think it's painfully slow, but there's reasons why, and we're trying to get you acclimatized, as best we can to just kind of moving around and walking at altitude. It really is. It's nothing really to it. I mean, you're just out of breath a little bit quicker than normally. So you would do a walk through the city. You go to the city center. You can do money exchange. Actually, we go to a money exchange if you have anything you want to change over. We go to some of the, there's an old church and a monastery and things like that there, and we kind of take you all through those and whatnot. Back to the hotel, and it's all walking from the hotel. Everything is quite central. And then, you just relax and wash up and get ready for dinner. Day two is sort of the same. You get up and have breakfast together. You'll have another briefing in the morning, and then you'll go and do an acclimatization walk. So the day is really meant for getting used to a little more vigorous walking at altitude, and also making sure that all of your equipment is as you need it. Your boots are properly, fit to your feet. Your backpack is properly adjusted. You can mess with your walking poles if you choose to have them. Things like that. It's just a bit of like an experimental day. Day three, you're going to be visiting a project visit. And I'm fairly certain that was after breakfast. You'll be heading to do that. Other than that, that's really the main thing of your day. You'll be going to the project, learning and seeing, speaking with people about it, and then coming back and spending the rest of the day around the hotel. You will likely have some time to go and do a little shopping if you want to, and things like that, before you depart the following day. So the following day, day four, is when you start your actual trek. So if you see on the map, you'll see down here there's Cusco. You start in the morning after breakfast for about a 3.5-hour bus ride. And the bus ride takes you all the way up to the Lares Valley. So it's right up here at the top of the screen. And at the Lares Valley, you go to the Lares Hot Springs. That's where the bus takes you guys. So you get off there, you have a chance to soak. There's a few different pools of varying temperature. The scenery is unbelievable. It really is quite something to be sitting there in this, really relaxing, warm water with mountains all around you. It's pretty incredible. While you're doing that, they're preparing lunch. So after you're done in the water, there are showers and things there if you want to use them, and changing rooms and everything else. You have a nice lunch, and then after lunch you begin your trek. So today is the shortest day. You really only walk for a few hours, and you trek from the Lares Hot Springs to Kinkani. And as you can see here, there's a little tent. That's Kinkani. That's your trek. And once you get to camp, you'll notice that all your equipment and stuff is there. So you're only carrying your day pack. You just carry a little day pack with just the things that you need throughout the day. Sunscreen, maybe a waterproof jacket, camera, some snacks, things like that, water. Nothing major. Your main bag is ported for you, so you don't have to carry that main bag around. So you'll get to camp. Everything will be there waiting for you. The tents will be set up. Thermarests will be in there inflated. When you get there, they'll greet you with some tea and biscuits and things like that. And you can just kind of relax and explore around the area while they're getting dinner ready. That really wraps up that day. The following day, you wake up. I think if I recall, it was around maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock. You have breakfast, and you go through your main bag, take anything you think you'll need, and you just leave it behind. And you start trekking, and you trek through to a place called Wakawasi, which is right here. Along the way, of course, you stop for lunch. There are multiple stops in between lunch and camp at the end of the day as well. You'll be stopping just to take breaks. You'll be stopping for snacks, for pictures, things like that. So it's not a race. It's very controlled and methodically run. Everyone's kept together. No one goes up ahead. No one's left behind. There's typically, per group, there's typically a main guide. There'll be two, sometimes depending on the size of the group, 2 or 3 assistant guides, and there's also the doctor as well. They kind of act as a doctor/guide. So there's tons of support. And that day, I think, is about maybe, I want to say 6.5 to 7.5 hours, depending on the speed of the group, to Wakawasi. When you get to Wakawasi, you'll find that some of the local villagers will come out and say hello. Mostly it's small kids. It's a great time if you brought things for the children. It's a great time to give those out. And what they'll do is, because the guides are used to doing this, they'll open a very large tarp up, and then they'll put everything out. The kids will come and sit around nice and orderly, and then you guys can hand things out. And it's usually school supplies, deflated soccer balls that we can inflate for them there, things of that nature, things that they're going to need, toothpaste and toothbrushes. We really ask people not to bring things like sweets and candy and or even money, and things like that, just sticking to the other items that they really need. And they hand them out. It's quite nice. They hand everything out, and there'll be some of the elders that will lay out some tarps as well, and they'll have things out. I mean, you'll find this actually at Kinkani camp as well. A couple of elders will come out and they'll lay out some tarps with all handmade, alpaca wool scarves and hats and gloves and socks and everything else. And they don't hassle you. They literally sit there and they're quiet as a mouse. If you want to walk over and have a look, then you're welcome to do so. If not, then that's totally fine too. There's no pressure whatsoever. And they'll have things like, if they've been into town, they'll bring things like Gatorade and soft drinks and things like that. They may even be, I think if I recall, they had some beer as well, but you can buy stuff like that. They'll have bags of chips and things too. So anyway, so when you get to Wakawasi, again, your bags are waiting there for you. And by the way, you have access to your bags as well at lunch. So as an example, you leave Kinkani in the morning, and after you leave and the camp is completely still set up. All the tents are up, the kitchen tent, the mess tent, it's all still there. The toilet tents are all set up. By the time you get to lunch, the crew have broken down the entire camp, packed everything up, got ahead of you. Half of the crew set up lunch, and they'll put up a toilet tent there for you guys and have your bags for access and everything. And the other crew, they carry on to the evening camp, and they start getting some stuff put up there. They get the tents out and stuff like that. So pretty amazing, how hard these guys work and how great they make it for us. So that was day 4. So day 5, you wake up in Wakawasi, and you head to actually Patacancha. So That's the longest day of trekking. That's probably close to an 8 hour, 8.5 hour day of trekking. And when you get to Patacancha, there's a road there, and there's a large, depending on the size of the group, there's either a large bus or a couple mini buses, and you'll load up, and you will drive down to Ollantaytambo, which is right here. And Ollantaytambo is a lovely little town. It's a very quaint cobblestone street. It really takes you back. It's got a lot of the sort of Inca architecture and things like that. I'm sorry, hold on one second. Thank you. Sorry, all the Mayan architecture and things like that. And there's a restaurant there, so you'll actually have a meal in a restaurant. And they'll have passed around a menu on the bus ride to the Loras Valley with all the different drinks and entrees and main courses, desserts, and you'll pick what you want. And basically, when you get there, they're prepared for what everyone's going to be having. You do camp in Ollantaytambo, just outside of town, but there's the opportunity to go to, if you want to go to a pharmacy or just a store to get some snacks and things, then you can do that there. The following morning, you're going to have breakfast, and you're going to get on a train. And the train ride, I want to say it was about an hour or so, and it takes you to, it's called Kilometer 104. And that's where you get off the train and you jump on the Inca Trail. So you'll check in with the guards there. They check your passports, make sure it matches the passport number you booked with. And again, if you do book and you use a passport number that you're going to have to ultimately change or renew, just make sure that you bring your old passport with you, or at least a photocopy of it. Otherwise, they will not let you on the trail. They have to match. So this day you trek, it's unbelievable. You start trekking, and the nice thing too is it's actually very, it's not touristy at this point. We used to do treks on the Inca Trail pretty much the whole way, but it's become so touristy, and people trying to sell you things the whole time, and you're sort of at the mercy of the groups ahead of you. If they stop, everyone stops. It's just not a nice experience. So we trek obviously to the Loras Valley. I did this challenge twice. Both times I did this challenge, we saw nobody else trekking through the Andes. I mean, no one. It was unbelievable, very intimate. You do see some local people at the different towns, but when I say town, it's more like a hamlet. It's not like what you would expect. So very, very quaint, very serene, very intimate challenge. So, but on the last day on the Inca Trail of trekking, most people sort of intend to get on the Inca Trail and trek the whole thing, and they don't realize really what that entails. And most people give up, jump on the train, and they just take the train into Aguas Calientes. So the nice thing is you see very few people on this trail, and the trail it's one of the nicest parts of the trail. There's a lot of ruins there, old fortifications. You see farming terraces, amazing stops along the way. So you trek today, I want to say it's about, I want to say it was maybe around 5.5 hours. And again, depending on the group, that was the group I was in. It can vary. But our goal on this day is to get you to the Sun Gate just at the end of the day. And the reason being is you've trained, you've fundraised, you've made the commitment, you've taken time away from family and friends and work. And when you get to the Sun Gate and you see Machu Picchu for the first time, it's quite emotional. I mean, there's a lot of things sort of coming to the surface all at once. And Machu Picchu is a massive tourist destination. So a lot of people, the Sun Gate is a tiny little area, and I do mean it's really small when you first get up there. So if you got there midday, it's going to be jam-packed with people laughing, talking loudly, taking pictures. You know what I mean? It's just not that private. And we want it to be a private moment for everyone because of the nature of what you've done to get there. So we get there at the end of the day. There's typically no one there. You have some photos taken. and then we begin to walk down into the park. It's about a 20-minute walk down like a paved pathways. You get into the park, but then we leave right away, and we take a bus down to Aguas Calientes, which is, I want to say, like a 10-minute bus ride. You get checked into the hotel. You shower up and relax for a bit, and then we meet for dinner. The next morning, you will get back on the bus, go back up to Machu Picchu, and you have a full guided tour. I want to say it was about 2.5 hours. And the guide that you will have from our ground handler is actually a certified tour guide for Machu Picchu as well. So you'll have the same guy you've been trekking with for days, talking to you about the architecture, why this roof is designed this way, and what this means in terms of who lived there. This is because somebody, noble lived there, and so on and so forth. And after that, you're free to explore a little bit on your own. And they'll even give you the bus pass and train ticket so that you can come down as you like when you're ready, just knowing that you have to be there in time to catch the train. The train takes you back to Cusco, where you have a celebration dinner that evening with the group, and then the following morning you're free to carry on either home or onward to your next destination, to your extension, wherever it is you're doing. Basically, I've been through all the typical days. This is a camp. I don't believe we camp in this location anymore, but that's sort of what the camps look like. You have that looks like an outside. Must have been quite a nice day there. Usually, when I was there, we had big open tents over top of the dining tables. But guides, the staff, they're all honestly, they're incredible. They really are. They're encouraging. They're friendly. They really do make this challenge what it is. Accommodation I've been through, so you'll be staying for the first 3 nights. You'll be staying in Cusco. Then you'll be tenting. You'll stay at a hotel in Aguas Calientes, and then again in Cusco, you'll be in a hotel on the last night before you depart. Food and drink. So we do cater to vegetarian, vegan, lactose intolerant. When you book, you just have to let us know. It'll ask you if you have any diet, food or diet, restrictions, things like that. So we just need to know ahead of time, and we can prepare and make sure that we have everything that we need for you while you're there. Training and fundraising. So training for a challenge like this really is cardio. I mean, obviously it's going to be core and legs as well, but the main thing is cardio. And what I normally tell people is the best way to train for this is intense start and stops. So let's say you have a treadmill, a stair climber, an elliptical, or nothing, just a bike, or just you're just walking. You want to walk, say, vigorously for 10 minutes, get your heart rate up as quite high, and then just stop. Either slow down, extremely, or just stop completely for 10, 15 minutes, and then keep going. And then keep doing that, and it really helps train your system to recover quickly. Brings your BPMs down, quickly, because that's what's gonna happen, while you're trekking. You start trekking, and after a little while, you might stop in the morning to strip off a layer that you might want. You're getting too warm. You want your heart rate to come down, and the best way to do that is just like what I said, start and stops. You don't need to go to a gym. You can do all the training you need really at home or around your local area. Of course, the gym will help, but doing your core you can do at home. Doing your legs you can do weight free squats. You can do calf raises on the stairs. You don't need to spend money on going to a gym if you don't already. The fundraising was talked about. Amy went over fundraising a little bit. We do have some fundraising tips and ideas on our website, quite a lot of them actually. It's called the Fundraising A to Z's. Some of them are quite kooky, some of them are really quite ingenious, but they're all things that people have shared with us over the years that really worked well for them. So we've just kind of put them up there for you. Pre-tour admin. So before you depart, you've really got constant access to support from Amy, from myself, from our whole team in the UK. You have a members area on the Charity Challenge website. In that members area is everything you could ever want or need. You've got, fact file, equipment list, training schedules, the itinerary, questions and answers. There's stuff in there about insurance. You can pay all of your invoices from there. You can look at what you've paid. You can get receipts for things that you need if you want stuff for insurance or whatnot. So tons and tons of information there. And on top of that, you can always pick up the phone or drop an email and ask any questions you like. We're here to help. There really is not a question that we have not been asked. So don't, the most embarrassing question you can think of, we've been asked it. I guarantee it. So please just, feel free to ask. So what's included? Obviously, everything during the challenge is included: the doctor, the guides, park passes, getting into Machu Picchu, the bus, everything, the train, all your food and drink during the challenge. Now, during the challenge, you get water, tea, hot chocolate, things like that. If you want alcoholic beverages at the restaurants and things like that, obviously that's something that we will not cover as part of the challenge cost. You just need to know that if you're going to order, any food or drink outside of what's provided, then it's gonna cost you. Tips are not included for the porters and the cooks and that kind of stuff. And all the information on tipping is in the Q&As. Essentially, everybody, and it's obviously discretionary. You tip if you feel that they deserve a tip, and only if you feel they deserve one. But typically, the money is given to the main guide. And the last day before everyone, I think it's actually at Waka Wasi, you won't see, the horsemen will go, you won't see the cooks again, things like that. So they do a little celebration and a little a ceremony at the same time, and they hand envelopes. The guide will usually choose people in the group to come and give the cooks an envelope with what they have in there, and the toilet tent guys and the horse guys and things like that. So transfers, when you get to Cusco, transfers are not included to your hotel, but we can arrange them for you, and they're next to nothing. Now, if everyone's coming in or if most everyone comes in on the same flight, we can arrange a group transfer. That's not a problem. But because everyone's coming in, from different places around the country, arriving at different times, it's really tough to do a transfer without having to do a ton of transfers, which gets quite expensive. So I want to say, I think when I got there, I took a taxi to the hotel. I think the equivalent was maybe $4. It was next to nothing. So it's 5-10 minutes. It's not very far. So that's it, really. I know I've kind of gone through a lot of stuff quite quickly, and I may have missed some things, but this is the time where you can ask any questions you like. If you want to ask about altitude adjustment, altitude sickness, if you want to ask about taking things for altitude like Diamox, anything at all, now's the time. Please feel free to ask. And Amy, I'll turn it back over to you.
Great. Thanks, Mark. That was really great. I think that covered a lot of really detailed information. So thank you for that. That's really helpful, to give people a picture of what it's like. It sounds so great to me. I will maybe prompt you with some questions. I don't have any questions that have come through yet, but if you do have questions, like I said, type them in that questions box and let me know. I have one now. How does it work for the payments? Do we need to pay our part when we register or at the end with the funds that we fundraise?
Okay, so that's a good question. So basically, in fact, what I'll do here, hold on a second. I will bring up the challenge page. Can you guys see this okay?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see that you're going through the website. Yeah, that's great. And I have shared this page with folks, so this hopefully is not unfamiliar to people.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So as you can see here, there's two funding options. There's the self-funder and the flexi option. So either way, whichever option you choose, you will pay a deposit of $650 at the time of booking. So, and just to explain the two, self-funding is very self-explanatory. You pay a deposit of $650. 10 weeks before departure, you're invoiced for the balance of $1,790. Excuse me. And you have to raise, in this case, you have to raise $2,500 for CUSO, and that's 100% profit for the organization. So if you look at the balance of $1,790 and the deposit of $650, you're going to get $2,440. So that's the challenge cost, and it's the same in the Flexi. It still costs the same. It's $2,440, but it's a bit different. Whereas you're paying the $650 and $1,790 out of pocket as a self-funder. If you choose Flexi, you're paying a $650 deposit, but 10 weeks before departure, you're only invoiced for $790. You're not invoiced for $1,790, so you're paying $1,000 less out of pocket, but you have to raise $4,000 for the charity instead of $2,500. So out of that $4,000, the charity is invoiced for the $1,000 that you're not paying. So it's a benefit to the participant because they're not spending as much out of pocket, and it's a benefit to the charity because they're guaranteed a minimum of $3,000, which is more than the minimum sponsor or than the self-funding model. Both are good models. Both work for different types of people for different reasons. You may not have time to fundraise. You may be turned off by the fundraising. In which case you're going to self-fund. If you would just rather pay for it, upfront, again, self-fund. If you don't want to pay for the whole amount upfront, you're not, worried about fundraising, then Flexi is the way to go. It's less money for you, and in turn, in a sense, it's more for the foundation. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that was a great answer. Thank you. Catherine, Catherine says yes, thanks. Oh, perfect. Great. Yeah, good. Thanks for that. Other questions? Let's see. I have had a few questions about the language on the trek, and I can tell you that it will be English primarily. Yeah. So most people will be speaking English, and the materials and things will be in English as well, right?
Yes. Yep. Everything's in English. Yeah. We do have documentation in French if somebody wanted as well.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we have translated some emails and some things that we've sent out, but the primary, like when you go to book, be aware that it will be in English. Yeah.
It is. Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. And then how to book was another question. What do I do? How do I get to book? And you can see on the screen there's a yellow button that says book now.
Yep.
Right. So that would be where we would go, and there's information that you would fill out like you mentioned, right?
Yeah. Once you click book now, it's going to ask you to sign in. It already knows that I've been here before, so I can just log straight in. Otherwise, if you're a new user, you'll be over here. You put your email, your password, confirm your password, and register, and then you can start filling out the booking form. I will say that if you begin to register, and you don't finish, or you're timed out because you're taking too long, maybe you stop for dinner and you want to come back, you're going to have to go into your booking again. And the one thing that a lot of people do is they'll go back and they'll click on book now again. And now the system thinks that this is another booking. You go to use your email and your password, and it's going to say, sorry, that already exists. You have to choose something different. And then people get confused. If you get timed out or you decide to finish it later, when you come back, you actually go to the main page here. You actually will log in. So you just go to your members area. This won't work for me because I don't have any challenges going on right now, but you go to your members area, which is my challenge pack, and you'll go down to your booking. Now, right now, this probably won't show anything. It doesn't show anything for me because I don't have any bookings going on, unfortunately. But it will show your booking and what step you're on. So maybe you stopped at step 3, so it'll say step 3 need to complete, and the need to complete, you can click it. You click it, and it takes you right back to where you left off. So, and all this is spelled out for you as well. But I think what happens though is when you start to book, a lot of the small detail stuff people skip over, and then they miss it, and then they don't know what to do. So.
Mm-hmm. I think that's good information. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's
Welcome.
yeah, that's good to know. Um,
Sure.
one of the other questions that I get asked sometimes is what kind of gear do I need to bring? I know that there's an equipment list there as well. Maybe we could have a look at that and let people know what they need to bring along.
Sure. Let's go into the equipment list. The equipment list really, I mean, the scroll back down here a bit. So this challenge itself, it's in the mountains predominantly. So the temperatures can be quite warm in the day and can be quite cold in the evening. So really, you have to be prepared for both. What I would do is, I mean, as an example, during the day, I was in shorts and a t-shirt because it was quite warm. As soon as that sun goes down, it's almost instantaneously cold. And you'll start putting on your layers and whatnot. In the morning when you get up, it's cold and you're tempted to keep everything on. But I will say that if you can bear, to get some of the layers off, you'll benefit because within 20 minutes of trekking, of leaving camp, you're going to want to take that stuff off because you're going to start getting really warm. Now, the good thing is if you do have to take anything off, you can shove it in your day pack, and when you get to your lunch stop, you can then take it out and stick it in your day bag, or sorry, your main bag, and then that's taken to camp for you for the evening. So you're going to want to have things like, I mean, the main things really are, a good pair of trekking boots is probably the most important thing, with an extra pair of laces, and make sure they're well worn in before you leave. A day pack, just for the stuff I mentioned during the webinar, sunscreen, snack, some waterproof, things like that. And walking poles, if you like to use walking poles, then bring those as well. Other things obviously are going to be sleeping bag you will need to bring. The thermarests and the tents are provided, so all you need is a sleeping bag. And we recommend a 4-season bag because it can get cold. As you can see, they're down to -10 at night. It wasn't nearly that cold when I was there, but better to be prepared. You can always open the bag up and cool off, but if you're cold, there's not much you can do. So waterproofs are important. You're in the mountains. It can rain at any time. It did rain a couple times while I was there, nothing major, but I was glad to have the waterproofs there ready to go. Everything else is, I mean, it gets into, gloves, hats, scarf, sweatshirts. I mean, it goes through all that kind of stuff, but that's all pretty self-explanatory. But the main things obviously are going to be, your day pack, sleeping bag, boots, trekking poles, camera is obviously important. You're going to want some nice photos. And make sure any medications and things like that you need, you have with you as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
I think that's
And you can go through the list as well. I mean, you can look at more things. If you see something and it says, like wide-brimmed hat for protection from the sun, obviously you want to bring something like that because you're fully exposed. If you see something that you're not sure of and it says, yeah, bring it, call me or email me and say, do I really need this? I'll be blunt and let you know, what I think, and you make the call yourself.
Great. Yeah, I think that's a really comprehensive list.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, great. We do have a question. Marion's asking a question. Are tax receipts provided for fundraising donations? This is a really great question, Marion. Thanks for asking it. Yes, we do provide tax receipts for donations that are made. So we do provide you with an online fundraising platform where you're able to, like I said, customize your message and solicit your network via email, and people can go online and contribute to your campaign. If they do that, they will automatically receive a tax receipt for their donation of $10 or more. So we receipt for all gifts of $10 or more. So people giving on your fundraising page will automatically be receipted. You may also receive donations of check or of cash even, and we can also receipt those gifts as well. So any of those gifts, $10 or more, will be also receipted. They'll get a mailed receipt that will come through the mail. If you choose to donate to your own campaign, if let's say you want to just pay, I have someone now who's asking about just paying the minimum sponsorship amount that he wants to pay the $2,500 himself. That amount will actually also be eligible for a tax receipt. So you can get a tax receipt for a donation made to your own campaign as well. So that's an added sort of tax bonus for you. That's a really great question. Thanks for that, Marion. Okay. Let me know if I've answered your question. If you have any other questions, let me know. I don't seem to have too much more on my list to cover. I can tell you that after this presentation, I will. Oh, Marion's a fundraiser. Oh, good. That's great. So you're going to be a pro at this. I can also send you guys the link to the fundraising page. We actually do have people that are fundraising already and who are on their way with it. So it could provide you with a really good example of how it's going. Great. That's good to hear, Marion. So like I said, after the presentation, I'll send you a follow-up email just to send you any additional information, and I'll include this recording if there's anything you want to go circle back around to. After the webinar, there's also a short survey. I encourage you to fill that out and let me know your feedback. And that's the bulk of it for me. If there's no other questions, we do have a little bit of time still. If there are any questions that you haven't asked yet, like I said, you can feel free to ask Mark or send me an email. I have a comment here that says, my friend was not able to join today. How can she hear or view the presentation? Yes, Margaret, thank you for that. I will send it. I'm going to send everyone who registered today an email, and I will link to this recording so that you can share it with your friend. You can forward on that message to her. In it, there will be Mark's contact info. There will be this presentation. There'll be a link to this registration page that we see on the screen now, and all of those details. So you can surely pass that along to your friend on our behalf. Good question, Margaret. Thank you. Okay, I think if there's no other questions, I think we'll start to wrap things up now. I just want to thank everyone for joining on the call today. I hope that you're inspired by this really interesting and exciting adventure that could be on the horizon for you in October. I know I'm really excited about it, and we do have people registered already who are very keen and excited to go on this trek. So I encourage you to make your booking or to let your intentions known to me. If you are interested in booking and you need more information, please feel free to contact Mark or I about it. And thanks again. We'll follow up again by email. And I want to say a special thank you to Mark for his thorough presentation today. I appreciate you going through that, Mark.
No, anytime.
Great. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. We'll close out the presentation now. And thanks again for joining. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks a lot. We'll talk soon, Amy.
Great. Bye, Mark.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
I am still here if anybody has any other questions.